no financing whatsoever. Just come with cash. That seems kind of crazy. Come on. What is the reason? Be willing and able to pay all cash?
Maybe this is a killer business. Maybe it's growing 30% year over year. Maybe it's got huge tailwinds.
Episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.
Hello, another episode of Acquisitions Anonymous.
We don't have 100% beard anymore. Welcome to Acquisitions Anonymous, the internet's #1 podcast about buying and selling small businesses. Today, myself, Michael, and your co-host, Heather Anderson, looked at a deal out of Southern California, which is coincidental for two reasons. One is Heather lives there, and two, I'm going there this weekend. So should be a good trip, all told. So it is a deal that does basically criminal background checks and is a wholesaler of that information to other people. So very interesting listing, very interesting price, and I think you'll be curious what we ended up thinking about it. So here's the episode.
This episode of Acquisitions Anonymous is sponsored by Acquisition Lab. Acquisition Lab and their team, they've been longtime supporters of the pod, and they provide a really great service for people who are looking to acquire a business. So it's created by Walker Dybel, who's become a friend, the author of Buy Then Build, How to Outsmart the Startup Game. So Acquisition Lab's an accelerator with a highly vetted, cohort-based educational and support community for people who are serious about buying a business. So a lot of our listeners like you tune in every week to our deal reviews. You want to get in on buying a business. You're on this podcast because you're trying to learn how to buy a business. But if you're not quite sure where to start, Acquisition Lab is a great place to start. So they exist to help people buy a business and to navigate all those complexities of the process, everything you hear us talking about on the show. They provide a proven framework, tools, and resources that support you all the way from search to close. They do it. There's a whole bunch of educational material and support. So if you're serious about buying a business, check out acquisitionlab.com, or you can actually email the program director, Chelsea Wood, directly. Her email is chelsea@buythenbuild.com.
Michael,
Heather, how are you doing?
I am good. It's fourth quarter. That is peak loan season. So we are getting ready to peak.
It has been interesting to kind of watch the banking climate these days. What I saw happen when they started to raise interest rates, I started to see there was some message that was sent around the government, like slow down the economy. And like, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of those like free COVID money programs like ERC and stuff like that they owed money to, like suddenly those got suspended, or they went under review. And they're now starting to pay them again. Interest rates went up, and like regulators really started going hard after the banks, right? Getting in there and trying to curtail the amount of money to being deployed. So I'm trying to think about where else I saw it, but there's kind of this amazing thing that American bureaucracy does, which is, and it really is so good at anticipating which way the wind is blowing and then going in that direction.
Or causing it. I've been in banking long enough to tell you that there's times that the bureaucracy actually kind of caused or extremely exacerbated a small problem by going after it too hard. So it is really fascinating. I will say on the business acquisition SBA loan side, though, not much has changed. The market, the banks are still very eager to lend and pretty flexible.
I got some pain in the ass businesses. They should come by.
Oh, well, depends, right?
Every time. Well, it's one of the things about owning multiple businesses, and I'm coming up on my 10 years in my CEO peer group. I'm the first one to make it to 10 years with the guy who runs mine. And he's watched me where like year 3, I'll be in there complaining about one of my businesses. Like, oh, this is horrible. Like, this is nightmare. I'm never doing this again. And then 3 years later, it's killing it, like doing super well. And I'm like, this is the best business ever. I never want to sell it. And then 3 years later, I'm like, this business sucks. Why do I own this business? Yeah. So you just want to not have this business sucks all happen at the same time.
Yeah,
that sucks.
I can imagine. You have a lot of different moving parts going on with a HoldCo.
It's fun. I wouldn't choose any other life except for any other life. Anyway, that's a joke. So you brought a deal today.
Yes, it is a California deal, of course. I have to represent. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Okay, I found this one on Biz Buy Sell. It is a 25-year #1 background search provider in California, Los Angeles County. Asking price $7 million, cash flow 1,100,000, gross revenue 3.8 million. The 25-year background search provider is number one market share in California. That's how it reads. The grammar is poor here. Owners retiring. That's a sentence too. This business is a direct information wholesaler. It prepares background reports that are mainly used for pre-employment screening. No SBA loans accepted. Key highlights include the only provider with all California coverage. Most competitors only cover several counties. Semi-absentee owner, proprietary-based system manages the workflow of thousands of reports a day. Many Fortune 500 customers, syncs with customer systems to provide seamless electronic document flow. 15-year wholly owned offshore document processing facility provides high profit margins. There's another typo, and pricing flexibility. It is included in the sale. So this is a facility included in the sale. Proprietary computer systems and offshore facility form costly barriers to entry. Proprietary system, no costly canned software fees. Scalable, unique value proposition can increase market share from competitors unable to match the one-stop shop service and pricing flexibility. Scaling infrastructure can be expanded to other states. This unique business is one of one. There is no similar business in California. It is offered for full 100% acquisition, NDA required, etc. That was the end. And it is listed by Hoke Nagahori of Select Business Sales. So what do you think, Michael?
Well, there's so much to unpack in this one. Did you read the part? And I was taking a swig of my carbonated beverage. Did you read the part where it said potential buyers must show proof of funds for the entire purchase price, no SBA loans accepted, no search funds, professional buyers, and private equity preferred? Did you see that part?
I don't know why I skipped that part. I guess that was pretty important.
Best part of the listing.
I should have read that part of all people. My goodness. Sorry about that. Yes. Pretty interesting.
So I love how
Bring
the
all
listing,
cash, $7 million. Okay.
I love how the listing has a stock photo of like a tool bag.
Yeah.
For some reason for this business, and it says sample photo
wrenches,
only,
and screwdrivers, which doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
What does that have to do with this business?
Yeah, I don't know.
So let's start with the fundamentals here. So they're asking $7 million for a business that generates 1.1 million in cash flow. So
hefty.
First of all, can't blame them for asking. But so what do they do? So it's a background search provider. And it looks like their customers are Fortune 500 and smaller customers who do criminal background checks. Is that what we think is going on here?
They never said what kinds of databases they're searching, but they did make a very strong point of saying they're the only one that has access to the data from every county in California. So it's probably something along those lines, criminal background. And, basically this is a data company, the way I look at it. Yeah.
So when I think about how this business works, a company who is hiring people calls up and says, here's an application and a social security number and an address and a name and the person's address and previous addresses and all that kind of stuff and driver's license number, and gives it to these guys. And then they go and look at a database of all of the criminal records for LA County, where you live in Orange County, that hotbed of criminal activity.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And then goes and look all those up and then returns a report to these people that said, we've done a search across all the local databases. And this person has no outstanding warrants. They've never been convicted of a crime. They've never had a DUI, all that kind of stuff. And they get paid for providing that report on a per report basis, we think.
Right. And it seems to connect to the HR system, the hiring system of, their clients.
So it says there's a 15-year wholly owned offshore document processing facility that provides high profit margins, pricing flexibility. It is included in the sale. So it sounds like there is some sort of facility in the Philippines or something like that where they are shipping. Is it paper documents, we think, that they're getting from LA County and Orange County and Riverside County and shipping this to the Philippines to be put into a database somewhere? Is that what's going on?
That part confuses me, but it sort of sounds like it must involve paper that it's maybe scanned or something over there, and then they're searching it from there. I don't know. That part's very interesting. I'm not sure what that is.
Man, this is a market thing I just know nothing about. I've had businesses that are customers of these and still customers where you pay $25 for a criminal background check on an applicant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you do for a credit report. And it's super valuable.
Yep.
Because it turns out people that have had DUIs in the past are very likely to have DUIs in the future. I'm not an expert, but it turns out that that's how it works.
Seems fair. Yeah, but I think this is probably very high volume and low ticket cost. So they're talking about thousands of reports a day. And it is quite a bit of revenue. I mean, 3.8 million. I guess let's guess it. Like, how many background checks is that a year? I don't know what these cost. What do you think? $200, $500
for a criminal background check?
Yeah.
Per? Oh, I mean, I gotta look at what we're paying at some of my businesses, but it's $25.
Oh,
$50.
way cheaper. Okay, see, I don't know.
Super cheap.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
what you pay for like
$3.8 million
dollars
is how many background checks a year?
Let's say 50. Let's say $50. So 3,800,000 divided by 50, they do 76,000. That's not crazy.
Okay.
Right. I mean, if you look at some of these companies with 30,000, let's say you're, a local trucking company, right? That is, down in LA and has 1,000 kind of drivers and warehouse staff.
Mhm.
You're easily going to do 500 or 600 or 700 background checks a year, especially if you're turning over people. Or let's not even get started with fast food and those sort of things, right? Where you have your entire staff turns over 2 or 3 times a year in some of those fast food places. So at $50, that's not out of line. For 76,000. I believe it.
So that's $6,300 a year a month, $6,300 per month that on average we think that they're doing. So they've got they've got 15 people in like I said, like you said, the Philippines probably can do it very, very cheaply. And really, what's the barrier to entry though? They really seem to think there is one, and it's their system. I would imagine it's the fact that their system is integrated with their customers' hiring systems.
Correct.
That's the only thing I can think of that would make this software special is the integration.
Yeah. Well, and I would assume if they're selling into Fortune 500s, a lot of these people have, what are they called? Applicant management systems, like recruiting management, RMSs, applicant management. I'm now showing my total ignorance of this niche, but I assume that they're using some of the high-end kind of, recruiting software management systems that are being used in these big enterprises. And those from what I've seen, tend to come with either, hey, you can buy our background check or you can plug into a third-party one.
Right.
There is a pretty famous startup, and I'll Google it here. It's called Checker, that came out of Silicon Valley, that does background checks. And it's basically just an online, they basically took normal background checks and put an API around them to make it really easy to do it programmatically. Hey, Michael here. I want to let you know that I'm hosting a conference, first time I've ever done it, and it's called HoldCo Conference 2025. If you want to learn how to manage multiple businesses at once, how to incubate new companies, or how other HoldCo owners and operators run their fleet of companies, then you should come to Utah next spring. We've got a ton of great speakers, including Walker Deibel, who wrote Buy Then Build and founded Acquisition Lab. Plus, we're hosting it at an all-inclusive mountain resort so you can hit the slopes at the end of the day. So please go to holdcoconference.com for your tickets and get 10% off with your discount AAPod. That's holdcoconference.com and use code AAPod for 10% off. Now, back to the show.
And so that's what makes me wonder why there's barriers to entry. It feels like technology could easily replace this, and you can just go direct, or kind of the way the new AI systems work or automations work, you could just plug one of these into your hiring system and replace, I feel like this may be connected to sort of old school technology. And we're right on the cusp of everybody kind of buying into the new type of software for automations. What do you think about that?
For sure. Well, I think that's one of the things I would want to know about this business. Like, okay, you're
Mhm.
semi-absentee, and like, what's going on? Like, is Checker eating your lunch and stuff like that? And is it getting more modernized while you're still dealing with paper and stuff like that? Like, you have somebody driving around to all these counties and pulling the public records every day of people who've been criminally done whatever, while Checker is doing it some other way. So, yeah, that's something
And
I would
maybe
want to learn
certain
about this space.
records you have to still get on paper. I mean, I've definitely learned that that is true with real estate. I don't know that we'll ever get real estate fully digitized the way that our system is set up across the country. So I'm wondering if the criminal record system is kind of the same way, stuck in paper in a lot of places.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's interesting with the title and county records and all that stuff. Like here in San Antonio, like all of the county records are available digitally. You just log on and get them. Same with
Mhm.
all the court filings. But there's some of these like West Texas counties. Like, have you been to West Texas? You driven
No.
out there? Like,
What's
so,
there?
well, so Texas is super weird, right? Because there's this basically like there's a line that follows I-35 basically from Fort Worth down to Laredo, right? It goes Fort Worth, Waco, Georgetown,
Mhm.
Austin, San Antonio, and then you work your way down to Laredo. But like if you go west of that, like Texas just basically becomes like very vacant, like
Mm.
really empty. We
Mhm.
have
That's what I
counties with like
figured.
these enormous counties the size of Connecticut with like
Yeah.
300 people in them. But you
Yeah.
go out there and there's just nothing. There's no
Yeah.
there's nothing to do out
Dirt.
there. You can't even
Yeah.
you're not raising sheep.
Yeah.
But like if you go out to a county in West Texas, pretty good chance there's no automation, no internet, none of that stuff. You're
Mhm.
asking a guy named Jim for a piece of
Yeah.
paper, and if Jim was sick that day, then you come back the next day.
And California is huge. So this is talking about every county in California. That's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot of places. And I'm sure in a state this large, every one of those criminal record systems is not digitized. So if
yeah.
you're relying maybe on a checker, I don't know. I have to look into this. Are they only getting the counties and the records that have been digitized, or are they sending someone out just like this company is and getting the paper and searching it as well? That I guess would be the main thing. How thorough is this business versus a checker in terms of that? They didn't say anything about it in the teaser. Like we have, they just say we have every county, but they don't compare themselves to any of the new school kind of methods like a checker. So
Yeah.
I would be concerned, as I am with almost every business these days. What are the possible technology disruptions coming
Yep.
at this one? And they are asking a really hefty price. And let's get to the all cash part.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean,
What will trigger you more, all of the typos in the listing or the all cash part?
the
Please
typos
proceed.
did really get me. I was having a hard time getting over it. But yeah, no financing whatsoever. Just come with cash. That seems kind of crazy. Come on, there are people and even businesses that I see looking at small companies where they could pay cash. They have enough in reserves that they could do that, but no one's doing that. They all want a little bit of leverage. Maybe, the degrees of leverage will differ depending on what they're trying to do with the company, but no one is buying businesses, or very few times is anyone out there buying a business of $1.1 million EBITDA, paying $7 million cash with no financing whatsoever. I'm just curious, why list it that way? What is the reason? They think this is such a hot property that's going to be a breeze. There's going to be so many buyers that surely some of them will be willing and able to pay all cash. I don't get the strategy.
Well, let's see what HoldCo here has in mind. We can go look at his website.
Yeah, let's.
His website doesn't work.
Oh,
well, good job. Sorry.
Well, there's that.
Anyway, that was good to know. He's in Manhattan Beach.
You're headed that way.
Yeah,
soon.
I'll be down that way this weekend. Yeah. Kind of SBizB, and their website does not work, so not a good sign.
Not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing by kind of scaring away buyers that way. But look, maybe this is a killer business. Maybe it's growing 30% year over year. Maybe it's got huge tailwinds, and they just know the price they're going to hold out for and the type of buyer they want to have. And look, are there businesses that cash flow last year 1.1 million that are low capex and are growing quickly, or even growing at a reasonable pace with big tailwinds that you should pay $7 million for? Absolutely. Do I know if this is one of those businesses? I do not know yet.
I also have to take an issue with the actual term no search funds. Like, I'm going to exclude a particular type of buyer, which, by the way, doesn't really, in most cases, have like a firm definition. That this guy just doesn't like them, and I'm putting it in the listing that no search funds. I don't think that does the client, the seller, a good service. To say, I just don't like a certain type of buyer, so I'm going to say that in the listing. Don't come if you call yourself this.
Yeah. It is a bizarre. I mean, if you're going to do this as a broker, there's nothing wrong with it. Come as you are. Gen X, you and I are very accepting of all
That's
types.
true.
As long as they act like Gen X, everything's fine.
Right.
As long as they have our world.
And they agree that we're the best generation. They have to do
right
that
before
too.
they forget us. So there's nothing wrong, I think, with listing the business this way and being very specific about who you're going to talk to. You just need to be really, really confident that you're going to get somebody who wants to spend $6.5 to $7 million on a business generating 1.1 million in cash flow, and you have good reason to do that. But it's not that crazy of a price. Like, I've seen this is kind of like a good software business. There are tons of software businesses that trade for 6.3 times cash flow. Like, absolutely, happens all the time. And some with even higher multiples than that. So if you're going to list it this way, you just better make damn sure somebody's got to pay you that for it. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot of time not getting many phone calls.
Yeah. And if it's a software business, and if that's the driver, I would love to see some of those software metrics in this listing, like something about customer churn, or, just something to kind of tell us, are these subscription clients? What kind of cash model, what kind of a cash flow model are we talking about here? I'd love to know a little bit more about it to make me want to pay a 7 times multiple, or almost 7. Yeah.
It does make me wonder. They use this phrase here: this business is a direct information wholesaler. So that makes me wonder, in the grand scheme of things here, are they have the information in the database, and they're one of multiple databases that folks like Checker have assembled into a single thing. And one thing I noticed in the Checker website, which was very interesting. So let me pull this up again. And it was just barely visible when they talked about their prices. So they basically, Checker was interesting. They quoted about what I said I thought a background check should cost, $55 a check. So yay me, like I was paying attention.
You're smart.
At the day. But here they have this interesting thing. Additional third-party fees may apply. Learn about pass-through fees. So that makes me suspicious that they are going to some third parties to pull stuff up. And here it looks like they have county and state fees.
Yep.
That you pay directly, state police. But here it looks like they're actually going through some industry databases and creating a single thing around them. So it makes me wonder if this particular wholesaler is one of these databases, which is pretty interesting, because that means you're the system of record for that stuff.
Right. Then they're part of the new technology that's coming along. And then maybe I do think, that price is maybe pretty fair, because they're always going to be the source to feed into these other systems. And I guess Checker is effectively a platform that sits on top of all these other systems and makes it easier to use.
Correct. Yeah, and I think Checker reached unicorn status. Like, they grew quickly enough to do that. Wow. They basically they grew really quickly. I haven't heard much about them lately, but they got valued really highly. And look, criminal background checks not going anywhere.
Yep, we got to know.
What else do we think about this deal? I don't hate it. I think this is like one of the least crappy deals brought forth. So kudos to you.
I found it on Biz Buy Sell too. So someone check it out and let us know what you find out, and if you pay all cash, if you can. Would it be interesting for a staffing business or a recruiting business to look at this? I mean, does that make sense?
Maybe.
Hmm.
I mean, the thing with recruiting businesses, like I could see it being part of recruiting a HoldCo, like our friend Jesse Tensley,
Mm-hmm.
where he has multiple recruiting businesses that, collaborate and cooperate, but they're independent businesses, kind of a Berkshire model. Like I like that for this. If I was the CEO of a staffing or a retained search firm or something like that, or a search firm, I don't know that I would want to own this. It feels like two really radically different businesses, different cultures, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as part of a hiring or staffing HoldCo, it could be very interesting for sure.
So are
I don't
we?
hate it.
Yeah, I don't hate it either. I like it. I found it, so I'm excited. Found something.
Kudos
good.
to you. Well, somebody should go look at this. We'll put the link in the notes, and if somebody takes a look at it and gets Hoke Nagahori, do we think that's Japanese descent? That name?
I believe so. I would think so. Yes.
He looks like a nice guy. He looks like of Southern Japanese descent. So pretty interesting guy, ethnically. So very cool. All right. Well, yeah. If somebody looks at it, they should definitely let us know. But other than that, good find. This is a pretty cool business. Oh, by the way, Hoke has sold a spectrum of businesses: retailers, wholesalers, manufacturers, restaurants, bars, and nightclubs. Super cool. All right. Well, we'll stop there.
Far
Wait,
afield from software.
yeah. So thumbs up or thumbs down for you?
I say thumbs up. I'm not a searcher, so I guess it's okay. But I'm not sure I'm paying cash.
Do you have $7 million?
No, I'm gonna have to call my friends. Michael.
You look at the wrong idiot. Super. I like it. If there's a lot of questions I have about it to understand if this is a good deal or not, but it could be a good deal at $7 million. It really could.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of it depends on the dynamics, the market position. What's the growth rate look like? What's the future look like for this business? But if you think it's going to keep growing at 30% a year, $7 million would be a bargain.
Mm-hmm.
So let us know. Or it could be shrinking, in which case they're just crazy.
We don't know.
All right. We'll see you next week. Good job, Heather.